People who were around back then may recall the 4th of October 1957, when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. That was a huge milestone and a really big deal, but on that very same day, something else was happening. A brand new family sitcom called It To Beaver was hitting the airwaves. Despite all the buzz about space, this little show managed to make a big impact on American culture for a solid 6 years. You might think everything was perfect behind the scenes, but that's not quite the case, as you're about to find out. The fake bee scene. Back in the day, before the advent of computer-generated imagery, CGI, practical effects were the go-to method for creating visual effects in television shows. Unlike today, where CGI can seamlessly insert objects like bees into shots, TV producers had to rely on ingenuity and creativity to achieve their desired effects. In the episode titled The Silent Treatment, there's a memorable scene where Beaver is painting a door outdoors. Suddenly, a bee starts buzzing around his head, causing a moment of panic. Of course, using a real bee was out of the question for safety reasons and practicality. Instead, the production team had to come up with a clever solution: a fake bee attached to a string. If you pay close attention to the scene, you can spot the telltale sign of the practical effect: the string attached to the fake bee bouncing around Beaver's face.
Beat it, you stupid bee!
Despite the limitations of the technology available at the time, the scene effectively conveys the comedic moment and adds to the charm of the show. This reliance on practical effects highlights the resourcefulness of television producers in the past, who had to find creative ways to bring their stories to life within the constraints of their time and technology. While CGI has revolutionized visual effects in modern television, there's a nostalgic charm to the practical effects of yesteryear, reminding us of the ingenuity and craftsmanship of TV production in earlier eras. The wrong car tow. In the episode titled The Parking Attendants of Leave It to Beaver, Wally and Eddie find themselves in a sticky situation as they take on the roles of valets for an event. As the boys navigate their newfound responsibilities, Eddie makes a critical error. He parks a car, supposedly belonging to Mr. Rutherford, in a tow zone. This misstep sets off a chain of events that leads to the car being towed later in the episode. What's particularly intriguing about this scenario is the revelation that the car with the towed license plate bears an uncanny resemblance to the vehicle frequently seen parked in the Cleavers' driveway during the show's opening credits. This realization prompts speculation among viewers. Unless there's some off-screen car theft occurring, it appears that the show's creators were hoping audiences wouldn't catch on to the discrepancy. This subtle inconsistency raises questions about the production choices behind the scenes. Was it a deliberate decision to reuse the same license plate for convenience, or was it simply an oversight that slipped past the scrutiny of the production team? Regardless of the answer, it adds an interesting layer of intrigue to the episode and invites viewers to engage in a bit of detective work of their own. Furthermore, this discrepancy simply shows the valid limitations faced by television productions of the time. With budgetary constraints and technical limitations, TV shows often had to find creative solutions to logistical challenges. In this case, the reuse of the license plate may have been a practical choice to save time and resources, even if it meant sacrificing a bit of continuity. Overall, the curious case of the matching license plates in The Parking Attendants offers a fascinating glimpse into the behind-the-scenes workings of classic television production. Keeping the black and white. Leave It to Beaver embarked on its television journey in the classic era of black and white television, much like many other shows of its time. However, as the late 1950s ushered in the era of color television, some similar family-oriented programs made the switch to color to appear more contemporary. Amidst this technological shift, Leave It to Beaver faced a critical decision: whether to transition to color or remain in black and white. Despite the growing popularity of color TV, the producers opted to stay true to the show's roots and continue filming in black and white. Their decision was rooted in practical considerations. Transitioning to color required substantial financial investment, including expensive cameras, lighting equipment, and alterations to sets and costumes. These additional expenses would significantly inflate the production budget, potentially compromising other essential aspects of the show's quality. Moreover, the producers valued substance over style. They believed that the heart of Leave It to Beaver lay in its compelling scripts and genuine performances rather than flashy visuals. Embracing the classic feel of black and white, they remained committed to preserving the show's unique charm and authenticity. Ultimately, Leave It to Beaver remained in black and white throughout its entire run, defying the trend towards color television. This deliberate choice not only honored the show's nostalgic appeal, but also ensured its enduring legacy as a beloved classic sitcom. The record player mistake. In the episode The Party Spoiler of Leave It to Beaver, Beaver finds himself feeling left out during a party thrown by his brother Wally. In an attempt to inject some excitement into the gathering, Beaver resorts to playing pranks, culminating in a grand finale prank involving an interrupter planted on the record player. The interrupter, ingeniously placed by Beaver in the plug of the record player, is intended to start and stop the music intermittently, effectively sabotaging the dance party. While the concept of the prank is clever and adds a comedic twist to the episode, it also highlights a minor technical inaccuracy that would have likely amused record enthusiasts of the time. In the scene, the music stops and starts abruptly in sync with Beaver's prank, suggesting that the interrupter works by cutting off the power source to the record player. However, this portrayal overlooks a key aspect of record player mechanics from that era. In reality, record players of the time required a brief period for the turntable's belt to adjust and bring the record up to the correct speed after being powered on or off. While the instantaneous effect of the interrupter adds comedic flair to the episode, it does require viewers to suspend their disbelief and overlook the technicalities of record player operation. Real world versus fiction. On the show, it appeared that the producers didn't know how to create a balance with what was real and what was fiction. While on the one hand, they tried to sprinkle some realistic things in the film, other times they made some grave mistakes. Fast forward to 1963 in the episode called The Poor Loser. In one scene, June Cleaver is looking at a calendar in the kitchen, only there's a little oversight. The calendar shows the wrong year. Instead of 1963 when the movie was set, it says 1961. Turns out the folks in charge of props forgot to update it. But that's not the only slip-up in Mayfield Town. Remember Wally and Beaver? Well, at the start of the show, Wally's 12 and Beaver's almost 8, making them 4 years apart. But by the final season, Wally's aged 5 years while Beaver stays the same age at 14. Something's not adding up there, right? It seems like there was a little mix-up with the calendar, throwing off the Cleaver boys' ages. But let's not forget about Eddie. In another episode, he tries to sound all smart, talking about this book called 2 Years Before Charles Dana Wrote The Mast.
I wonder if you're familiar with 2 Years Before the Mast. It's a book by Charles Dana.
The only problem? He got the name half wrong. The book was written by Richard Henry Dana Jr., contrary to what he called it. But in the end, these little slip-ups just make the show even more interesting. Despite its perfect suburban setting, Leave It to Beaver always managed to throw in some real-life quirks. Turns out, the folks who wrote the scripts, Joe Connolly and Bob Mosher, got a lot of their ideas from their own childhoods. And even Barbara Billingsley, who played June Cleaver, sometimes gave advice based on her own experience raising kids. Another thing most fans may not realize is that the guy who played Ward Cleaver, Hugh Beaumont, wasn't just an actor. He was a real minister in the Methodist Church. His work as a minister gave him a whole lot of wisdom and honesty to bring to the character of Ward Cleaver, making him seem even more believable. There's no doubt that in the behind the scenes of Leave It to Beaver, there were bloopers, mix-ups, and real-life inspirations that made the show what it was. While these mistakes seem horrible, it didn't do much to destroy the veracity of the show, and that's a good thing, but there is more coming. And this one has to do with the name of the show. Confusion, with name of show. When it came to picking the main actors for a famous show like Leave It to Beaver, it was a big deal. They needed to find kids who could act like regular American boys in a genuine and friendly way. One of the kids who caught the eye of the producers was Jerry Mathers. When young Jerry tried out for the part of Theodore Beaver Cleaver, he really impressed the people in charge. He seemed really honest and true to himself. Jerry was more worried about getting to his Cub Scout meeting on time than about the audition. He even wore his Cub Scout uniform to the audition to make sure he could go straight to the meeting afterward. This honesty and commitment to his role helped Jerry become the famous Beaver Cleaver. He won over the viewers with his real acting of childhood innocence. When asked about his uniform, Jerry calmly explained that he might be late for his scouting meeting if the audition took too long. He seemed more excited about attending the meeting than getting the acting part. But it was exactly this honest charm, innocence, and honesty that made the people in charge realize they had found the perfect young actor for the role of Beaver. Jerry's honesty and genuine nature were the perfect representation of childhood. He didn't try to impress the adults or act fake. He was just being himself, and that's exactly what the role needed. But that's not all. While the folks behind the scenes were trying to come up with a name for the new TV show, they had lots of ideas. Leave It to Beaver wasn't always the first choice. At first, the creators, Joe Connolly and Bob Mosher, thought about calling it Wall-E and the Beaver. This name focused on the two Cleaver brothers, with Wall-E being the older one and the Beaver being the younger one who's naughty but cute. But when the first episode aired on TV, everyone loved Jerry Mathers playing the Beaver. His funny and innocent character became the show's heart. So they stuck with Leave It to Beaver as the name. When they saw how people reacted to the first episode, the producers realized that the main character, Beaver, was the show's real star. The name Wall-E and the Beaver didn't feel right anymore because Beaver was becoming the most important character. They needed a new name that showed Beaver was the star and that the show was all about his fun, funny adventures. So after trying out a few options, they decided on Leave It to Beaver, which showed the funny side of the show that was yet to come. Before it became its own show, the first episode of Leave It to Beaver was shown on TV as part of a series called Hind Studio 57. These kinds of shows usually have a different story and characters in each episode, like The Twilight Zone or Alfred Hitchcock Presents. In the summer of 1957, Hind Studio 57 aired many pilot episodes of possible new shows to see which ones people liked. Leave It to Beaver's first episode, It's a Small World, was one of these trial episodes, shown on April 23, 1957. Back then, the Cleaver family in the town of Mayfield was just another idea for a TV show among many others on Studio 57. The pilot introduced viewers to the Cleaver family, including young actors Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow. While the main idea of the show was similar to what Leave It to Beaver later became, there were some differences. The name It's a Small World hinted at seeing small-town life through a child's eyes, but the characters and their relationships weren't fully developed yet. Even Harry Shearer, who became famous on The Simpsons, had a small part in the pilot. After the pilot aired, TV executives decided Beaver's adventures were worth turning into a full series, and the rest is history. So, while today we know Leave It to Beaver as its own show, it actually started as a short episode on Hind Studio 57. TV producers could see its potential from the beginning. Barbara's attempt at being taller. Barbara Billingsley, known for her role as the perfect TV mom, June Cleaver, on Leave It to Beaver, always had a polished appearance. Her neat dresses, pearl necklaces, and impeccably styled hair represented the typical suburban mom of the 1950s. However, her fashion choices served a practical purpose too. As the show progressed over its 6 seasons, Barbara faced a dilemma. Her on-screen sons, Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow, were growing taller. She didn't want to appear shorter than them on camera as they got bigger. To address this, Barbara started wearing higher heels. Instead of trying to hide their growth, which wouldn't look authentic, she cleverly used fashion to maintain her height advantage. By opting for tall heels, she maintained the appearance of a mom, even as her TV sons grew up. Sometimes Barbara also stood on a small platform to gain a few extra inches. However, it was mostly her choice of high heels that kept her looking taller than her co-stars. This smart fashion decision ensured continuity in the family dynamic on screen, maintaining the believability of their relationships throughout the show. Also, a lot of fans of the show may have missed this. The toilet scene. Back in 1957, television was a different landscape, and certain topics were considered taboo. One such topic was the depiction of toilets on TV screens. It was seen as rude and inappropriate, something that just wasn't done. However, in the second episode of Leave It to Beaver titled Captain Jack, the show challenged this norm in a groundbreaking way. Wall-E and Beaver found themselves in a humorous dilemma when they unexpectedly acquired an alligator and needed to find a place to hide it. In their youthful ingenuity, they settled on the most unconventional hiding spot, the toilet tank. At the time, this solution might seem odd, but it was a testament to the creative storytelling of the show. However, including a toilet scene wasn't without its challenges. CBS, the TV network airing the show, was initially hesitant about showcasing such a scene. They were concerned about the potential backlash from viewers. The show's creators, though, argued that there was no other practical place to hide the alligator within the context of the story. After some negotiation, CBS reluctantly agreed to allow the scene, but with certain conditions. They agreed to show the toilet tank, but made it clear that the bowl itself should not be visible. Thus, in a quick and cleverly shot scene, Wall-E is depicted placing the alligator in the tank. While only the top half of the toilet was shown, it marked a significant departure from the norms of television at the time. Leave It to Beaver's bold move paid off, as it became the first show to feature an actual toilet on TV, albeit partially. This moment was groundbreaking, opening the door for more lighthearted bathroom-related humor and scenes in television shows to come. It paved the way for the toilet humor that we often see and enjoy in shows today, demonstrating the show's lasting impact on television culture. Chuckle, don't laugh. The minds behind Leave It to Beaver had a unique approach to humor. Instead of aiming for uproarious laughter, they sought to cultivate a more subtle and natural form of comedy. If a joke elicited an overwhelmingly strong reaction from the audience during filming, it would likely find itself on the cutting room floor before the final edit. The goal was to maintain the warm and genuine ambiance that characterized the Cleaver family's escapades each week. The producers believed that excessive laughter could potentially disrupt the show's innocent and straightforward tone. Therefore, they meticulously reviewed each joke after filming, opting to preserve those that elicited small chuckles rather than uproarious guffaws. Tony Dow, who portrayed Wally Cleaver, attested to this approach, noting that it was customary for the production team to prioritize subtle humor over belly laughs. While it may seem counterintuitive to remove jokes that generate significant laughter, this strategic decision ensured that Leave It to Beaver retained its sweet and unassuming essence. So, the next time you find yourself watching an episode, remember that the absence of thunderous laughter was intentional. By trimming the super funny moments, the show maintained its charm and authenticity, leaving viewers with a warm and nostalgic experience reminiscent of simpler times. Why the show ended. Numerous TV shows face the unfortunate fate of cancellation when their ratings plummet and profits dwindle. However, the trajectory for Leave It to Beaver seemed quite the opposite. Despite 6 successful seasons, the show's popularity continued to soar, if not surpass its earlier successes. Yet, the decision to conclude the show wasn't driven by declining ratings or financial setbacks. The pivotal reason behind the show's closure stemmed from Jerry Mathers, the show's star, making a significant life choice. As he transitioned into high school, Jerry decided to prioritize his education over his acting career. It was a commendable decision for a young individual, demonstrating foresight and maturity beyond his years. While the producers could have explored avenues to continue the show without Jerry Mathers, they recognized that his departure would irrevocably alter the dynamic that made Leave It to Beaver so beloved. Consequently, they made the bittersweet decision to bid farewell to the show after 6 remarkable years. Leave It to Beaver remains ingrained in American television history as one of the most beloved classic sitcoms. Reflecting on its legacy, one might find it surprising to learn that Jerry Mathers possessed extensive acting experience from the tender age of 5. Conversely, Tony Dow, who portrayed Wally, embarked on his acting journey with no prior experience, a testament to his natural talent and the show's knack for discovering raw talent. After Leave It to Beaver concluded its run, the cast and crew embarked on new endeavors, yet the show's popularity endured as subsequent generations discovered it on television reruns. Behind the scenes, the actors embarked on their own post-show adventures. Jerry Mathers, who portrayed the iconic Beaver Cleaver, sought to enlist in the U.S. Marine Corps, but faced rejection due to concerns that his fame might tarnish the Corps' image in case of any mishaps. Undeterred, Mathers found his calling in the Air Force National Guard instead. Meanwhile, Tony Dow, known for his portrayal of Wally Cleaver, encountered challenges in securing acting roles beyond his signature character. However, Dow persevered and transitioned into a successful career as a director. He remains grateful for the opportunities afforded to him by Leave It to Beaver, cherishing his memories of the show. Barbara Billingsley, immortalized as the quintessential TV mom June Cleaver, relished her portrayal of the beloved character. Even in the 1980s, she reprised her role for special TV appearances and a spin-off series. Despite the show's conclusion in 1963, its enduring popularity persists, with audiences continuing to enjoy it through reruns.